Spoonie Stars, what's up? Welcome or welcome back to my channel. It's Effie. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about why I would always do a food intolerance / food sensitivity test and still do. I am also going to be sharing 2 tests that I feel are really important for people living with rheumatoid arthritis to do. I'm going to be showing you guys my recent results and my old ones from about 10 to 8 years ago. Stay tuned because that and much more is coming all right up. There are 2 videos on YouTube that I suggest that you guys check out, and one is from Dr. Mike and another is Goji Man. For Dr. Mike, his video that I linked below in the description box, he brought on an allergist and he interviewed him, and this allergist broke down the definitions of what a food allergy is versus food sensitivities and food intolerances. They're 2 different things, and the test that I did, they actually have columns where it says food allergies and food sensitivities. They just said that food intolerances and sensitivity tests are not worth it. And there's a lot of comments though underneath this video from people who live with chronic disease and digestive complaints that are pretty serious, and they don't agree with what they said. Usually food sensitivities and intolerances are more digestive related, and a food allergy is more of an immune response. And a lot of people don't know that either, because let's say someone has celiac disease. That's an autoimmune disease, that's not an allergy. While gluten bothers people with celiac, it's something completely different. Then Goji Man, he says they are a scam and anyone who orders them for you, they are frauds. But in the beginning of his video, I don't get why he would sell organic acid testing, stool testing. But before I get into discussing my results, I want to offer some words of wisdom for those who are embarking on this path. Because when I first started taking these food tests and all these tests, it was super overwhelming, and I was kind of worried all the time about what I was eating, if it would cause a flare. And that's exactly what Dr. Mike talks about with this allergist in that video, along with Goji Man in his. And they say that it causes people to have anxiety, food fear, and obsessively scan labels. To an extent, I feel that reading the labels of the products that you're eating is important. You don't want to be eating certain things if you have an inflammatory condition. The more you stress about what you're eating, that creates cortisol to raise in your body. We all know what cortisol does. It raises inflammation. So that's kind of what they were saying. When I did first take these food tests, I tried out the paleo diet, the keto diet, what else? There was so many out there. You can even Google all these diets and you'll see how many people are researching this, asking it. And that's what I was doing. And I have to say that I didn't really fare well on the autoimmune protocol, AIP, for long. The keto diet, it helped me for a little bit. I have to say my inflammation markers went down, but was it a long-term thing for me? No, it wasn't. And paleo and a bunch of other ones, they just contain too much meat and raw coconut, which for me, I know that when it comes to sugar, raw coconut and coconut palm sugar, they don't do well with me. For me, focusing on whole foods, just trying to get enough nutrients in all sorts of ways has helped me the most. Though I have to say that this energy healer, he told me that grains is my problem. That's what my spirit guides were telling him. And this was around 2018. That was the last time I did my food intolerance sensitivity test. And so it's been a few years, and that's why I wanted to retest it now and see how everything's going. And about a week or 2 later, I got my results back and all grains showed up. And I'm not talking about just gluten, it was buckwheat, arrowroot. Looking back, that is my problem because I tested it again recently. So someone I know was doing a metabolic detoxification, and I have it here. It's like this little booklet, and there's a bunch of recipes in here. So I figured, you know, I'll just do this 10, 20-day cleanse with you. and it was just focusing on whole foods, like a lot of fish and vegetables and fruits. And I noticed that my inflammation went down a lot. And I have a tendency to eat grains a lot. I know it's a bad habit, like brown rice crackers or chips and jasmine rice. And I avoided all those things for 15 days. And I saw my rheumatologist recently, and she was like, yeah, your wrist swelling is dramatically down compared to how it was when I saw you 2-3 months ago. And I felt really good. And that was just an indicator to me that, you know, maybe the grain issue for me is still there. And I know a lot of people have done the GAPS diet, which focuses on removing grains, but there's a lot of other aspects to that plan that I'm not really privy to. So I think you have to like drink raw egg. So I don't know if I'm going to do that. Long story short is to not overly worry or obsess. And if you find that something bothers you, eliminate it for a little bit, not too long, and then reintroduce it back. And I know for my test, my doctor told me to avoid it for about 6 to 12 weeks. My second tip is to have everything in an organized folder. And I mentioned that I have some of my test results from 10 to 8 years ago, and that was only because I made sure to get my results. And they were also sometimes given to me at my appointments, but if they're never given to you, ask for them so you have your own records, because it will be nice to go back and look at what was bothering you then versus what's bothering you now. And there's been a lot of improvement within my tests over the years. There are some lingering things that have stayed constant, which I noticed when I looked back at these. And what really pushed me to get organized was when I had my knee surgery, because the last thing I wanted to do was have family members search for things and not really know where it is, and I would not be able to bend down or like pick things up when I was recovering from that. I'll, you know, try to go over them as best as possible. I actually asked for this test. My functional doctor didn't recommend I do it, and I've gotten to the point in my rheumatoid arthritis journey where I just sort of maybe ask and sometimes tell my doctors what I want to do, but they also work with me. So for instance, like the GI effects stool test, that was something that I needed to get done, and my doctor was on board, but he's like, get the vaccine first and then you can retest that in June. So I ended up getting it done like in August and got the results back fairly recently, and I talked to him, and there are some lingering things at play which, you know, probably is being impacted by the medications I'm on to treat rheumatoid arthritis, and that's just my deal because I have these underlying infections at play. And luckily these tests were covered by my insurance. I have Medicare and Medicaid. I'm on disability. I've written articles about my disability benefit journey many times. And if this wasn't covered by Medicare though, this food test would run $325. And that just goes to show how expensive rheumatoid arthritis, let alone chronic illness and disability is. This food test is from a company called Infinite Labs, and I ended up eating chicken, and I ended up having a turkey hot dog with gluten-free bread and walnuts, and then I think something else, I don't remember. But right after that, I flared so bad in my left elbow and then in my jaw within like a day or two after eating those things. And then I got my food test back, and lo and behold, chicken and yeast were moderate to severe. For me, elimination diets have always been such an annoying thing to do. I don't even know if I ever followed through with all of them all the time. I sometimes just avoided foods for, you know, a longer period of time, especially dairy, because it gave me really bad acne in high school, and I'm pretty sure that gluten and dairy are the triggers behind manifesting rheumatoid arthritis in my body, along with many other things. So I really like at the end of the test how they clump everything together so you can refer to it pretty quickly. And as you see here, here's my moderate food sensitivity list: aspergillus mix, avocado, blueberry, candida, cashew, cauliflower, chicken, cinnamon, fish, tuna specifically, ginger, gluten, mushroom, pea, green, pork, shellfish mix, squash mix, walnut, and yeast. And this type of yeast, I looked it up, and it's brewer's yeast, which is used in beer, which I don't care for, and used for wines, which I may care for eventually, and it's on the skin of grapes, and it's used in baked goods. So the yeast actually was my severe reaction. I asked people over on Instagram what your food allergy, sensitivities, and intolerances were. Several people wrote back to me about what theirs were. Dairy and gluten wasn't surprising for me to hear other people say, but one girl said ginger, and she was just like saying how ridiculous it is because ginger is said to be used for chronic inflammatory conditions to treat it. And then someone else said yeast as well. And then the fish tuna thing, I don't really eat tuna often, so, and it's probably been years. In those videos that I was mentioning, they were saying that a lot of these food groups that come up in tests that show as moderate to severe or mild can be foods that you actually have eaten, and there may be an instance where these foods show up because you're tolerant to them, not intolerant. But when I saw yeast on here, I immediately knew that there was something going on in my gut because I've had candida in my gut before, and I've completely gotten rid of it many times. They didn't group the allergy thing differently at the end, I just noticed that. But I do have an allergy, like an actual allergy to fish, tuna. And again, like I had said, I don't eat tuna. So that's kind of weird. I mean, the number here, as you see, it's 1.81, so it's a pretty low number. If you see over here, the gluten, it's a sensitivity, the IgG is 56.66. That's extremely high. And then I also have an IgG4, which is 1.21. So they break it down here for you at the end, which I really appreciate because people need to know the differences between these things. Okay, now for the stool test. It's from Genova Diagnostics, and it's called GIFX. And yes, I had to dissect my own poop because that's all what a stool test really is. Functional, alternative, holistic medicine isn't all glamorous. It's not all bath bombs and face masks and massages. There's much more to this, and this is more of the ugly part of it. I've done this so many times where I'm like, okay, whatever, but thank God for VOG masks and Cambridge masks, and I was lucky to have some VOG masks lying around since 2018, so I haven't always been without a mask when doing this. Sometimes I was, and it was not that nice. But yeah, you pretty much like just put some of your samples in these vials and then fill out the form, send it off. This will all make sense to you guys now after I talked about the food stuff. And zooming in, you can see my need for digestive support. Interestingly enough, I was taking a digestive enzyme from Enzymedica. It was the Digest Basic, which is pretty basic, and I have also used Digeszyme V from Ortho Molecular, and I just wanted to see how the Enzymedica Basic was going to work for me, and it clearly didn't really do much because it's so like basic that I feel like if you don't have a lot of digestive issues, you can get by with using that. But ever since I moved on to my Digeszyme V, I feel so much better, and even my doctor said it's like more broad spectrum, so it'll kind of cover all your target areas. And he's like, if you feel bloated, just take 2 before a meal. If you don't, take 1. And that's what I'm doing now. As you see here, I have maldigestion, so I'm having problems breaking down things, so I have to be really diligent in taking my digestive enzymes. They offer other suggestions like apple cider vinegar. I've been doing this since 2012 on and off. One of my old functional medicine doctors told me this, and she said mix a little bit of Bragg's apple cider vinegar with some water, sip it here and there while you eat. And a lot of people, they rely on these apple cider vinegar gummies and drinking apple cider vinegar straight in the morning, which I was told doesn't do anything for you. I've tried those gummies. I don't feel it helped me at all. I didn't notice anything. And In fact, I think it made me feel worse. And I was told that when you drink apple cider vinegar straight, it just goes through your system really fast. A lot of people don't know that when you have it with some water and you sip it while you're eating in between your meal, it helps a lot to break down your food. And I did this the other day and I did not feel any bloating or acid reflux after. And then mindful eating habits, digestive bitters. I haven't used digestive bitters and bile salts that much. I have a lot of herbal tinctures that I use, but those are not really taken before I eat. And you know, for mindful eating habits, I looked up kind of like what that all is about, and you can see here in the corner, it's just like being in the present moment, not being on your phone or in front of a television. I was actually expecting inflammation in my gut to be the highest because in my old tests this was a problem, and I have to credit celery juice for lowering inflammation. Hands down, I've been doing it for 5 years now. I made a video about it. Now, dysbiosis. So this is pretty much something called SIBO, small bacterial overgrowth, and it's something that I've healed and something that's always come back. And I don't know why. Doctors have told me hormonal health and like your metabolic stuff plays a big role in it. Clearly, as I talked about, you know, the metabolic diet thing that I was doing for a little bit, and I've been treating my hormones for a while with progesterone for like 1 week during my cycle, and I take chasteberry and licorice, and so all that stuff helps. I'm not really sure what caused the dysbiosis to come back this time, but I have a clue because this summer was kind of catching up on all my appointments, right? And in June, I went for my teeth cleaning. Everything's good, no cavities, pretty solid there. I have to thank my Sonicare for that one, but I did have to take 4 amoxicillin antibiotics at 500 milligrams each prior to my dental cleaning because I have a knee replacement. And for those of you who don't know, after you get a joint replacement and you go for a teeth cleaning or you do any other invasive procedure, you are probably going to need to take an antibiotic beforehand to prevent infections. And I have this thing with antibiotics where my gut just doesn't like it. In any case, so my doctor, he has given me a plan for that and stuff. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. If you guys follow me over on Instagram, I'll keep you guys kind of up to date on how that plan is. But basically, just treating the candida and the infection first. And that's going to be with oregano oil and Candicid forte, which is some stuff that I've always used, and it's worked all the time. There's been instances where they have told me to take a short-term antibiotic, but he said that this bacteria that I have in my gut is actually known to make rheumatoid arthritis worse or even cause rheumatoid arthritis, and this is something that always keeps popping up for me, and it can be resistant to antibiotics over time. So that's why he didn't put me on this antibiotic treatment and then do the herbals, which I've done in the past. A lot of this stuff that's going on in my gut is connected to the food test. So because I have that candida problem going on in my gut and the infection, it's going to show up that I have yeast food intolerances, right? So when I ended up healing and clearing out the candida and the SIBO out of my gut, I never had a yeast problem show up in the food test. I just want to move on to the Nutri-Eval, which is like showing your vitamin and minerals and your organic acids and all that stuff that I did in 2017. And you can see that I was lacking in some B vitamins. It might be kind of hard to see here, but you know, riboflavin, B2, B3, B1, alpha-lipoic acid, manganese. These things are still in the yellow borderline area for me, and that just means I need a little bit of a boost and additional support. And this was in 2017, it's 2021 now. I was on methotrexate in 2017, and a doctor found that it was stripping me of all my essential minerals and vitamins while it was helping control joint damage and slow the progression of the disease. So again, like, I'm just like in this limbo seesaw thing here where I'm trying to treat my condition with medication, but also all these other alternative routes, which, you know, to be honest, it's the best route for me. And yeah, but I just want to kind of show you guys like what was lacking for me back then. Cuco10 was in high need. And then again, like alpha-lipoic acid, B1, B3, B12, zinc, manganese, magnesium. And here's like 2010 stool analysis. And man, 2010, that was like a different lifetime. I was in need of like butyrate and like other digestive support. I did not have yeast back then, or really any parasites. And I've never had parasites or anything, knock on wood. Oh my God, where's the wood? I did have like a need for digestion and absorption support back then too. And that could be also why I'm, you know, underweight and all this other stuff with my iron levels sometimes being low. It's because if I do take any plant-based iron or food that has iron and I'm not able to digest or absorb it, then sometimes it's like not going to work fully. So I was not doing too bad. And I was on Enbrel back then. I was not on methotrexate. And then I did an organic acid test, which is what that Goji man recommends. I've been told that organic acid tests is kind of like something that you would do after the Nutri-Eval, because the Nutri-Eval shows more in depth of what's going on. And then let's say you do some treatment with your doctor and you feel better, an organic acid test would be the next step to kind of show how things are doing. Other times, if my doctor just wanted a quick answer and a profile of how my body was doing, that's what he would do. And in 2016, I showed that I had arabinose, which I think is a yeast and fungal marker. Again, that was high. He said if you eat fruit, it won't, what did I write here? I wrote my note, I can't even read my handwriting. If you eat fruit, won't affect it. So yeah, that's another thing. A lot of people think, oh my God, if I eat fruit, that's going to be too much sugar or it's going to cause me problems with my candida and yeast. It actually won't. It actually will help heal it. So yeah, and then with sugar and stuff, I do well with cane sugar, and I also was told by someone who has RA and used like the metabolic approach to heal her condition that fructose sugar is really good. So I'm going to try getting that one from the Now brand. And so yeah, I mean, you just really have to play around with like what kind of works with you or not. And I just want to mention one of these tests here showed when I was really deficient in B12 in 2014. That's when I started experiencing really bad dizziness. I would get up from bed and the room would start spinning. I would literally cry because it was so bad. And I remember finding out that I needed a high need of B12 from this test, and my doctor gave me a B12 shot, and immediately within the next day the dizziness stopped. It actually happened a couple days after I did the vaccine. I took my high potency B12, went away. So, you know, if anyone's going through that, just know that it may just be a really severe deficiency in B12, which if you have rheumatoid arthritis and you're on medication, you need folate and B12 in your arsenal. And then yeah, here 2016, I did my GI effects stool, and it came out that I had inflammation in my gut, and I had a little bit of an imbalance, as you see here. So interesting. And then here I did another test, hormonal health this time, and it was showing that I was a little in need of progesterone support. I wasn't like too bad. This is when I found out that I had a really high estrogen metabolism, as you guys can see here right there. So I was told by my doctor that people who have high estrogen metabolism more often than not have autoimmune diseases. It's connected, and I mean, the proof is in the pudding right here, peeps. So, you know, like I was a little bit low in like some androgens here too. I don't know if like my doctor knows this, my recent one. I'm glad that I found this from 2013. This was after my huge flare. This is my Nutri-Eval test now, and I'm going to show you guys exactly what I'm in high need of. Alpha-lipoic acid is in high need. As you guys know, what I just showed you, that's been always kind of like borderline for me, yellow. When something is in the borderline, that's not too bad. You know, like it's good, but it can be better. You see here, like I have a ton of biotin, B7. The alpha-lipoic acid, I was told, can also help with scar tissue in my knee. Go figure, I'm in severe need of it, and I have a ton of scar tissue in my knee, so I started that up and I feel good. You know, vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, all moderate need. Cuco10, so like My vitamin E, I was always kind of like, I didn't take it every day. Vitamin C, same thing. Q10, I stopped because with that, like you can take it for some time, then stop it, and then resume. So I started it up again. Glutathione helps with the liver, and I'm in high need of that. B6 is fine, which I was surprised because I used to be deficient in B5, B6. And I take a really low dose of B6 now because I noticed that when I would take B5, B6 like at 500 milligrams, I would flare and it would make me feel bad, which is connected to the hormones. It can rev up your hormones and actually mess with your cycle if you have too high of B5, B6. And this is just all the things that I've learned. I'm not a doctor, but as a patient, you kind of get to know all these things in depth. The digestive support enzymes, probiotics, and omega-3 was also mentioned in the gut test. So you see how all these things align, and my symptoms and what I feel also fits with this stuff too. So, and then my amino acids, I'm surprised that they are pretty good. There are some that are 0. I just want to say when I first did the NutriAvail test in 2013 or 2010, I believe it was, well, sometime around the time when I was on Enbrel, I did the NutriAvail test and my amino acids all came back 0. And I remember my doctor, my functional doctor, saying that they have never seen someone with such a low panel of amino acids before. And, you know, I don't know if that was something that was always there before my diagnosis with rheumatoid arthritis or if it was something that the medicine caused. But as you see here, like, damn, I'm proud of myself. Like, there's only what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of like all these that are not 0. So, you know, over time your body can heal. Okay, here, so here's like kind of like the panel that they break down every like nutrient and vitamin and mineral and like what it does and kind of where you are on the scale and your high need, moderate need, no need really. And then they just do like this citric acid cycle. Like, I don't know all this stuff. I'm not a scientist or a biologist, but or a chemist. So this is where the help of a doctor would come in. And then again, they give you like a list of your organic acids, as you see here, and kind of where you fall on the spectrum of everything. And, you know, again, like this is all like really technical medical, so I'm not gonna get into it, but you can kind of see like where your body is. All right, guys, I know that was a lot to take in and it can be super overwhelming, especially if you're just diagnosed or even if you've been on this journey for a long time, but you're just starting to find out all about the functional medicine side of treating rheumatoid arthritis. I hope this helped you guys, and feel free to, you know, reach out to me with any questions. I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not going to be able to break down your own tests and let you know what's up with that. But I can steer you in a direction of where to find these tests, but I also link them in the description box below. So if you do have a rheumatologist or a general doctor or functional medicine practitioner, bring this up to them. Don't be scared to be like, I read this somewhere, I heard this, is this beneficial for me? And that's what I do sometimes when I read things and I consume like a lot of information. I take notes. So don't freak out thinking that, oh my God, that person with rheumatoid arthritis has all these things, that means I have them. We are diagnosed with the same disease, but our symptoms can be different, our prognosis can be different, a lot of things can be different, and that's why you have to do your own research and talk to your medical professionals. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Hopefully not a thumbs down. Subscribe if you haven't already. Join the rest of the Spoonie Star tribe, and I will see you here weekly as I discuss everything arthritis and lifestyle. And last but not least, this wouldn't be my video if I didn't announce the Spoonie Star Supporter of the Week. Here they are. Thank you so much for your love and your support. As always, if you want to be my next shout out at the end of my video, stay active on my Instagram and YouTube. I pick someone at random all the time. Until next time, bye.